Hello everyone, my name is Aaron Donaldson and I'm a Customer Success Technical Leader here at Cisco. In today's overview video, I'm going to talk to you about CLI templating in Catalyst Center, what it can do, how it works, and how it's implemented. So the first question is, what is CLI templating? Well, CLI templating is a system for defining and maintaining configuration standards on the devices managed in Catalyst Center throughout their life cycle. These CLI templates give you the flexibility to define custom configurations for your devices beyond what's available in just the common network settings page in Catalyst Center. Now, CLI templates use templating languages to address device-specific configurations, and they do this through the use of variables in order to work as placeholders in your templates. We have two templating languages that we support in our CLI templates, and those can be used to provide some basic scripting logic, as well as some advanced functionality, but mostly they're used for loops, if-else statements, and other things like that. Now finally, the resulting configuration is applied to devices after it's generated by this template, and then it's checked periodically against Catalyst Center's database to ensure that the device is remaining in compliance with the configuration Catalyst Center assigned to it. Now, why would you want to use CLI templates? Well, there are a number of good reasons, so first we'll talk about standardization. The traditional method of individual device configuration comes with a lot of administrative overhead and can be very difficult to manage at scale in large organizations. Transitioning instead to using CLI templates will require you to normalize your configuration into standards that can then be reused and applied to different devices in different scenarios, thereby reducing the amount of effort that you need to apply in order to maintain the configurations on your devices. The next reason is compliance. So Catalyst Center's configuration compliance feature relies on CLI templates and the common network settings in Catalyst Center in order to ensure that your devices remain in compliance with the configuration you deployed to them. As far as scripting logic is concerned, the different templating languages that we provide give you some basic scripting logic and even some advanced options that can be used to improve the efficiency of your templates and add a lot of flexibility so that you don't have to write a bunch of templates to handle a bunch of different scenarios. And finally, Catalyst Center has a concept called system bind variables. And these are bits of information that Catalyst Center collects about devices when they are added to your inventory. Those system bind variables are then available for you to use and reference inside your templates so that you can gather information needed for your template without having to ask the user for certain bits of information. Now, there are also some challenges that come along with using CLI templating, so we'll talk about some of those. So converting your configuration into CLI templates can become complex, and it may require some basic knowledge of scripting or programming logic in order to handle all the different scenarios you might need. For standardization, the process of consolidating all of your individual device configurations down into standard templates can require a lot of work. It could be challenging up front. Deploying the template configurations to devices is also a multi-step process now in Catalyst Center, and it adds a little bit of extra effort on top of simply going into a device and making configuration changes. And finally, it can be challenging to handle one-off situations due to Catalyst Center's somewhat rigid system of using network profiles to attach CLI templates to devices in your inventory. So here we'll show an example of what a Jinja template might look like in Catalyst Center. And Jinja is just one of two available templating languages that you can choose. The other is called Velocity, which we'll cover in a separate video series. So templates can include static configuration, which are simply lines of text that you just want printed out unchanged or unmodified to the output and becoming part of the device configuration. The second option here is variables. And variables act as placeholders in your CLI templates in order to address any device-specific configurations for things like host names, IP addresses, BGP AS numbers, anything that might change from one device to the next. You can also use simple or even some advanced scripting logic within your templates in order to customize their output based on certain factors or maybe data that you provide as you're generating the template. And finally, you can use conditional statements, which are probably the most popular scripting logic that you would use in a template. And these are basic if-else statements. They're used to perform comparisons between different statements and then take action based on the output. So if you're going down your if-else statement, it'll be like an access control list where it's looking for the first matching condition. And when it finds that matching condition, it will take whatever action is listed underneath it and then move on throughout the template. So how does this whole process work? Well, it takes 4 major steps in order to create a configuration template and then deploy it to a device. So the first step is obviously creating your template using the templating language of your choice. Once you've created that template and validated that it's actually going to work, you would then attach it to a network profile. And so network profiles cover classes of devices like switches or routers or wireless LAN controllers. The next step is that we take this network profile and we assign it to one or more sites in the site hierarchy in Catalyst Center. And then finally, you can deploy either a single template that is attached to a network profile or all of the templates that are attached to a network profile onto one or more devices in your inventory. So you have some flexibility there in that you can deploy them one at a time or all at once. Now, the primary benefit of using CLI templating in Catalyst Center is that it powers the configuration compliance feature. So configuration compliance works through kind of a 4-phase process here. The configurations are generated and deployed to devices through a combination of the common network settings and any CLI templates that you have assigned to the device. Next, as each configuration is generated and deployed to a device, Catalyst Center will store the configuration state of that device in a database. So it has a running log of all the changes that were made to the device's configuration. Now, periodically, and in the default case that's once every 24 hours, Catalyst Center will check each device's running configuration and compare it against the last stored state of that configuration to see if they match. Now, as it's doing that comparison, if it finds that there are any deviations from the current running configuration to the stored state, it will generate a configuration compliance alert and notify the administrators of the system that something is no longer in compliance. All right, so this concludes our overview of CLI templating in Catalyst Center. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit our YouTube channel where there are many other videos on various other topics. I also have 2 links here to the Catalyst Center user guide. The first link goes specifically to the chapter on CLI templating, and the second link will cover the concept of configuration compliance in Catalyst Center. So that concludes our video. Thanks for watching.